Hello, my beautiful people. I have not recorded in my formal track jacket here in a while. Okay, so welcome to another short episode. I'm just being sarcastic, of course. So I'm going to name drop and say that my buddy Rory Miller said we were talking about writing, and he said try to say things with like 50% less words. I think that's what he said. Because I'm really being challenged right now in a long story short, because that's not what this episode is about, but with writing and submitting to these different contests that are a part of a teenage dream. Right? Okay, so I don't always tell you all what I am going through. Because there's just different things, right? Personal struggles and different things I'm probably being really dramatic about. But this topic, I would like you to refer to the playlist if you are interested in it more. I think it's on the mindset playlist, and I'll probably put this over there regarding dating. If you really want me to tell you my recommendations for that area, right? Because it's complicated. It's just that's the way that I can describe it. This whole topic, because of what I know now and what I've learned in life when it comes to wanting some sort of life partner, right? And it takes some thought if you would like to um, have somebody right in your life consistently and committed, and a lot of things that I can just talk about it that sound really confusing because there's a lot of aspects that you can have with friendships that you have, right? So I think it gets really when you get into the whole having kids and different things like that. So go over there and listen to that if you want some specific tips regarding, if you want to call it dating or just hanging out with somebody or whatever it is, and then leading to somewhere else, right? Because I never actually like dated. I was friends with people beforehand. And so, what I want to, the inspiration for this episode, I've wanted to talk about it before, I did it in the dating one as well, is that I was watching a TikTok video, and basically it made me laugh, but I'm not sure if he was British or where he was from. And he talked for, it seemed like, I don't even know, almost 5 minutes on this list of things, like basically about a confident woman and an independent woman, and how he's, I don't know if it's him, but he works really hard or talking about somebody writing, a text in the morning to a woman like, good morning, beautiful, and all this time and effort or thought you're thinking about putting into it. And she has this list of her different activities and traveling the world and taking care of herself, and it's just making me laugh, right? So it's making it sound really intimidating, like she doesn't need anybody, she doesn't want anybody, and all that sort of stuff. And so I come at it from this perspective of like, since as an adult and in my 20s, I became more confident within myself, that could appear intimidating, right? And I understand that. Um, and as I grew, I was like, I can still always go back though and say, like, there's no reason to be, just because I'm speaking strongly about a certain issue or whatever it is, the issue or the things, they were real challenges and problems for me. And the confidence that, I mean, I'm advising or wanting to advise somebody else because this is what has worked for me. So I'm not trying to sound like I'm better. It's just I found out what worked for me, and I read a lot, and I studied under particular like systems or personal growth stuff, or and then maybe probably a lot of just, again, natural intuitive, this happened, caused me whatever, if you want to call it pain or frustration or whatever it is. Okay, so this is already starting off different than how I typed up. Okay, so the TikTok video made me think, okay, I need to go jump on here and talk about this again, because it's just from my perspective. If you respect or just want to hear what somebody else says, that from a person who I could see how having confidence could appear intimidating. And also, if the physical right is appealing to somebody else, meaning somebody thinks you're pretty or whatever it is, right? Because I never saw it myself like that, right? You listened to me before, you know that it started from the roots of rejection, of not feeling white enough. So if I'm already thinking about something like that, I'm definitely not thinking that I'm pretty, or that um, I would be appealing to somebody else, because that's not where I was coming from. So it took me a very long time to even understand that somebody might be like, okay, oh, Nora, you're attractive. So, maybe, that is a part of it, or whatever it is. And then on top of the personality, which everybody has different tastes. Okay, so whether it's free spirited or you're outspoken, when I choose to be, you have opinions, um, and maybe those other types of personalities, men, right, don't feel like that they can't control me, or whatever it is. Like, we're gonna say back in the day, okay, right? But back before 23 and being single, had I had this mindset now, I may have, that I have now, I would have approached things way differently, just because I was not confident and I was so worried about being rejected, right? Where, again, if you've had listened to me before, it's like the character has become more important to me than the looks. So if the person doesn't appreciate the looks, at least I know I'm funny as fuck. And there's certain things I like about myself. So if somebody did not like, this is example for you, right? If there's something that you feel like they might not like about your image, or like about whatever, when you have that self love for yourself, building your uniqueness, building character traits, that's why I'm calling this video Stop Being Intimidated, right? If it is about the pretty person or whatever it is, or the personality, don't make assumptions about them, okay? It's like, so I'm going to give you the examples, whether if the intimidation is that you just think we're all after your money or something like that, right? Even though I make jokes about it, because being Asian and gold digger, that's hilarious to me. That I would even probably go up to somebody now, just messing around, being like, so how much money you make? So to get people, just get people laughing, and that's one of the steps that I would offer you to do, invite you to do, right? Be funny. Okay, so I love serving, to help people feel happier, have better relationships, romantic and platonic. But we're going to be specific to this episode, like I said, because of the reference in that TikTok video that I told you about. I don't even know who the guy was. So this is a really great time to sit down with yourself and ask yourself these questions. And I know some of you might be like, Nora, just tell me what to do, like just whatever, I want it or whatever. But I want to set you up for success, right? And success means becoming aware of what you want this relationship for, okay, right? So maybe the average person out there is going to be like, oh, I just want to be loved. I just want to be adored. I just want to this and this. This is the way it's always like, this is just what people do. It's like a following of culture. And this is what irks me about culture. And remember, I went through this process myself too, in thinking that another person is going to give me worth. Okay, so the easiest way to break this down, after the repeated over and over again, and I've talked about this in my other episode, is that trying to explain the whole seeking outside of yourself, and I think I can break it down here, is that if you are going into this with the intention of all those things I just said, right? It's basically like you are searching to be loved, feel loved, to get attention, all these sorts of things. that reason, it's, I don't want to say that it's wrong. It's just things will happen as a result of you choosing that path. Meaning, when somebody you're seeking outside, right? You think that outside the person is going to give that to you. When that doesn't happen, they don't give you the attention. They don't do this and this for you every day. They're in a bad mood, and maybe it's just because, right, they're in a bad mood or whatever it is, then you're going to get sad, right? It's almost like again, a dependency on thinking you need or that person is going to make you happy by doing XYZ. Okay, that's the best way to put it, is like you become reliant on that. So that's what happens when you go into it with that mindset. Now, there's all these situations, right, that people get into relationships, like we just said, um, societal, kids, I don't know, taxes, other pressures. And so I want you to ask yourself, what, I know this sounds confusing though, but if society, family, friends, the outside world did not tell you you were supposed to do this, right? You were supposed to get married, you're supposed to find the one, you're going to get kids. It's almost like the go to college, right? And this like standard like thing we've been doing for years, which a lot of the young kids are not doing at all. I feel like it's both. You know, some of them still want the traditional ways and then some of them do not, right? They're actually saying, okay, I want to be single, I want to travel, I want to do this and this. And the old ways to it of as well as when you're in a relationship, right? There's always going to be a little bit of control in there, but in that history of that is that people, one person is kind of more controlling of the other. You know, what you do, whatever it is. I remember a client saying, "Welcome to the institution of marriage." So, this sort of thing there. So, I want you to ask yourself, like, what is it? What is it? What's your goal? This is called, again, like preparing, kind of like conflict resolution, right? If you're not going to any sorts of whatever therapies, even alternatives to prepare yourself with how to work on conflict with each other, you know, how are we going to know? And me, again, not having verbal or social skills. So I really want you, I was going to bring this out here, my janky little board. Okay, what you truly want. What is the goal? What is the whatever? If you had the choice and you were not being influenced by anything out there and you were going to live the life, you were going to live the best life that you want. And do you want freedom in self? Do you want to be able to go and do things whenever, not whenever you want, but I mean, you know what I mean? Have the freedom to be able to do what you want, travel what you want, talk to who you want, things like that. There are different things for me and my mental health and just who I am, especially growing up with my dad and my mom's remarried husband. You know, I need that masculine influence from that perspective, right? From that friendship level, that whatever, right? So the person needs to be accepting of that. Not everybody can handle that. So I forgot to give you these examples here right now. I'm going to do it because these are perfect examples. I told you, okay, so maybe not necessarily like a guy would be like, oh, you're intimidating, Nora. But plus, that's admitting like some sort of weakness. Okay, so, and remember again, this is when I talk to you about stories, it's maybe clients I've had or I've trained with former criminals, talking to different types of people from different walks of life, which I did not expect to find in Krav Maga. That was just a very interesting but pleasant surprise. And so being told things like that, just, you know, within conversation of talking and somebody was or would be like, oh, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, meaning kind of like a to be with me, because whether it's talking to too many dudes, even if it's training, it's just the fact, right, of talking, because the jealousy thing comes up, right? We all get fearful of things. I think that we're all a little bit, intimidated or feel insecure. That's a word. In maybe certain areas, is just how far you take it. You know, again, I will talk about it again. Certain industries, you have to be accepting that your person is going to be involved. I would not say tempted, because not everybody, right, is all about the dick and the puss. So talking about people, talking to being able to talk to people is very important to me, to talk to and have the freedom to talk. Okay. So maybe like it could be, even though with training, like, oh, she talks to too many dudes. So I don't like that, right? I can't deal with that. That would be like an example, right? Which would hurt my feelings. And then somebody else saying that they thought that it would just be too hard, like if I was single and then I was available, and like they wouldn't even try because it's too hard. And then I just look at them like, what do you mean? Like, it's too hard, meaning you have to effort, or to like be a good person, or be a good, like, what do you mean? Like, you think you have to make X amount of money to like make me happy? Or do you mean you have to change too many things just in general about yourself? Like, I don't really know if we were to explore that, like exactly what that means, because I'd have to ask. But only in talking to people. I mean, I've had people within a few minutes say, a car salesman actually, because he said whatever, I changed his life in like the 3 hours we were together. It was probably, again, just being insightful about something, and just thinking like, oh, that's why, that like money, like that would be the reason I'm picking somebody. It's like, why you're making assumptions again, but that you think all women are like that, and that what happened to falling in love with the character traits in the heart? Like, am I so old school that like sometimes I do feel like I am. I'm very old school and traditional about certain things, and morals and character, and for me, again, remember, this is a different perspective, and maybe a more masculine one, and that I grew up with my dad is just kind of like, okay, I said the character traits. Oh, if you don't know how to push or use a broom, you don't know how to boil an egg, you don't